Hi, welcome from Paris. This is Mark and Flavio on tour, unscripted on the sofa, and today we're talking about how you go about planning your photography trip when either you go in the UK or whether you go abroad or wherever you go, but the reasons that you should plan what you're going to be doing so that you can make the most of the time when you're actually there. And I think the first thing we always do is we look around the web and we just research great areas for street photography, and then from there we sort of detail more stuff, and we just go in and use sort of Google Maps and look at sort of places that we think are going to be ideal to shoot images.
And we look at images actually, if we can find any street images of the place, trying to understand what kind of atmosphere we can see, what the look of the place might be, and that also helps us to plan where to go, because we try to understand where some of the images that are a little bit more suggestive might have been taken. But yes, it takes quite a bit of research. We spend quite a long time on the computer on Google Maps trying to find where they are, plotting the route, etc.
I mean, we're in Paris at the moment, and just prior to the trip, I mean, weeks ago we started planning this, and I made a Word document of all the places that I felt that would be good for us to visit, and then we sat down together literally 2 days ago, and we refined that so that we would know. And then from there, when we had our list, we then went on to Google Maps and we typed those places in, and then we have a big list of places. You can only do 10 maximum, but then we can sort of look at a route that's worth taking. And the first thing we looked at was cafes, because it's certainly in Paris, the cafe culture is massive. And, we're sitting in one, and there's one opposite us, and they're full of people.
But let's say also that the idea of the cafes comes from a book that we reviewed some time ago by Peter Turnley, and the Brasserie de l'Île Saint-Louis, which is a place where he took so many pictures, and that inspired us also to look for the cafes and to find some of the most interesting, some of the most traditional cafes to shoot in, and I think this is a very good starting point to make the route.
I mean, I personally love Peter Turnley's work, and we visited the cafe where he's taken a lot of his pictures, and we've both walked in there and we've recognised the coffee machine.
Yes.
But then, I've just said to you, wow, this is so small in here.
It's very small space.
It makes you realise, how talented Peter was to get those photographs
and
unobtrusively.
Exactly. Yes.
Without them people knowing that he was there and capture those beautiful scenes. It's a great book. His love letters from Paris. It's worth definitely getting and putting on your bookshelf. But once we did the Google Map thing, we then sort of planned a route, and so we
actually planned three
different
routes.
We did cafes, and we did famous landmarks, and then we did I think restaurants. And other sort of some recommended walks by people that sort of just tour Paris. So we've got 3 or 4 different routes that we're going to look at, and we're actually over the next 3 days we're going to be doing those routes. We're halfway through day 1. We've done route 1, and
we're not even halfway through route 1.
No, it's true. There's some areas we've just looked at each other and said there's nothing here, or we don't feel there's a lot here.
And interesting enough, we've taken a suggestion for those areas from other street photographers, and that tells you how different each street photographer's eye is. For us, they weren't particularly interesting a couple of areas.
And there's nothing wrong with looking at other street photographers' work and just saying, they've gone there, so actually that's a good place to start. Don't copy what they're doing, but use it as a starting point, and then do your own stuff around those locations. But we're on Route 1. We've been to I think 4 or 5 locations now, and a couple of locations we've just looked at each other and said, no, there's nothing here. And others we've looked at each other and said, this is a killer location. There's so much
Yes.
great stuff here. Some nice cafes, and there's some great backdrops. So that's one of the things we've done. Then the other thing we've done is, about taking pictures of actual locations.
Yeah. And one technique that we are using to almost tag the locations is to take the picture with the phone, and the phone will geo-tag the image, which means it will just put the dot on the map where the image has been taken. And we made an album called Paris for these images, so we can actually go back to see what the location was, to recognize it visually, and we can simply navigate to it. And it's a very good way to actually tag your favorite locations and go back to them, and we will go back to a couple of them.
Sure. And the whole purpose of doing this is so that when we run the course, we can take you to the best locations, and we can go straight there, so that you're not wasting your time looking for great locations, great backdrops, quirky backdrops. You're just going to go straight there and get great pictures, because that's what we want you to do. We want you to know where they are. We want you to know that we've got your back, and we're going to take you to safe areas, but maybe slightly off the beaten track as well, so that you get the pictures that you want to take.
Yes, and also this can work also when you're doing your own recce for a place. The first time that you happen to be in a city, still tagging these locations and coming back to them, because it's not a given that when you find a nice location, something good will happen. You have to come back at times and try to see if at a different time of day, different occasion, some different people coming through will make the image, and some locations are worth revisiting.
I think it's amazing the resources, as photographers, we've got at our hands these days.
Yeah.
And you think, what we've done, and all these places we've been to or we know. And I've done this in lots of locations all around the world. In Kolkata, in Istanbul, and I can go straight back there, and I know where there are great restaurants to go and eat at, or know where there's good cafes to go and have a nice cup of coffee at, or I know where there's great locations for street photography. And it's because you're building up this sort of library or encyclopedia of images or knowledge each time, so that we can share it with the rest of you. And you don't need to come on our courses to access this information. We're actually starting to do a section on our website that actually gives suggested routes for you to do if you actually come here by yourself and do street photography. So we want to share this information with you.
But on the other hand, coming to a course will just make such a big difference, and that was one of the big differences that were made in my photography, coming to a course and learning what really street photography is. And that was transformational for my photography. It really gave me a much better understanding and much better keeper rate, simply because I was looking for the right things and I was looking for them in the right way.
So when you visited your first course, what part of the course did you find was most beneficial to you?
Apart from being told what to look for, which was fundamental to start with, but the most beneficial thing was the critique at the end of the day, reviewing the images, selecting your images straight away at the end of the day, and then having them critiqued. So the images that you thought were quite good images, and then you're here the first or second day, not really. And then on the third day, fourth day, fifth day, you just go up and up and up, and the quality just gets better. And it's incredible.
Fabio, you're not alone in saying that. And, if I look back at the feedback that we have from every course going back over the last 8-9 years, that's a common theme that I see all the time, is people say the most valuable thing we got from your course was not necessarily shooting, although that is valuable. The most valuable thing was the critiques in every evening, and going through everyone's work and pointing out little things, so that the next day we could make adjustments to what we were doing. But
one other thing that I didn't see myself so much, because I didn't happen to go on a course like this, but courses that I I was teaching, a big feedback from the attendees is seeing me shooting and explaining what I'm looking for and why I'm shooting it in a certain way, what choices I'm making. And this is certainly something that is very valuable for the attendees and something that we do all the time.
And you know, the only way to really critique someone is to see all their work.
Yes.
You know, it's so easy for any of us to just show one great image and everyone goes like, wow, and you get lots of likes and lots of sort of shares and that sort of thing. And it makes you feel great because you're being patted on the back, and we all love that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the only way you're going to get better is by showing someone every image that you take of that day, and you can quite easily see that the faults and make sort of judgments there. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. I really appreciate it, and we'll be doing a couple more videos in Paris, and look forward to catching up with you real soon. So it's goodbye from Mark and
Flavio.
Goodbye.